Right. So Erev Tov, this is a very special class this week. It's the last, or like we wrote, the finishing class for the entire Hakel year that we've been participating together every week in our Devar Malchus class, and Hashem also, since he knows it's the finishing class for the year, he also brought before our eyes a very special story, and it's a story that I might have told, but I don't recall. I don't recall if I told it and recorded it. Nevertheless, there are many different stories, miracle stories from the Rebbe, and every single story gives us another aspect and perspective of our relationship with Hashem, our relationship with the Rebbe, our relationship with Torah and mitzvahs in general. One of the major things that we would like to see, but we don't always have the opportunity and the merit to see, is how our actions, our thought, our speech, our actions, how they are imperative and make such an impact on ourselves, on our environment, on the entire world. We have no idea. And it's very rare that Hashem allows this to be revealed to our eyes. But the main thing is that we have to continue to always have the emunah and the bitochon, the belief and the trust in Hashem, that there's nothing that we do or we say or even think that goes unrewarded, regardless of whatever it might be. And the fact of the matter is that everything that we think and say and do have an influence and have an impact on ourselves, on our environment, and on the entire creation. Coming from this day, today was the 25th of Elul, the birthday, so to speak, of the creation, the beginning of the 6 days of creation. So therefore, when we are going to hear this story, we can really contemplate and we can bring it home, this idea that we were speaking about a moment ago. It's told about a chassid, and this chassid was a very special chassid. The place where I read the story, for some reason, didn't bring his name, but they only wrote the letter Pei. I don't know, that would be translated, I guess, P in English, or if it's a Fei, so maybe F or a PH. Regardless, this chassid, he heard so much from the Rebbe about the study of Chassidus, the study of Tanya specifically, and how the study of Tanya has the ability to go into change the entire capacity of the creation of the individual. He felt that it's very important that a person will be able to have the possibility to have a Tanya on him all the time. Okay, now till then, the Tanyas were printed on a large format, and since they were large, full scale, they were a little heavier and larger, and it was not that convenient to schlep around, as we say, to carry around together with us. So this chassid, he decided that he's going to go and to make a major breakthrough. The breakthrough was that he's going to write the Rebbe for a blessing to print a pocket-sized format of the Tanya. First time it's going to be, it happened. He wrote the Rebbe sent out an answer. The Rebbe gave a blessing for the printing of the Tanya, and he immediately set out and he had the entire Tanya printed on the pocket-sized scale. And obviously, once it was printed, first of all, the chassid was all full of excitement. But then the chassid wanted to give the first Tanya that was printed as a present to the Rebbe. And so he did. He went to the 770. He gave to the Maskiros to ask, and he asked them to bring it into the Rebbe. The Chassid was still there for a few days, and he's waiting. First day, nothing heard from the Rebbe. Second day, again, no news. Third day, and he's like, kind of like, he felt a disappointment. Not in the fact that he printed the Tanya, but the fact that for some reason, the good news that he was sure of isn't coming through. There's no feedback from the Rebbe. He started to do a cheshbon nefesh, a calculation of his own soul, and he came to the conclusion that if there's no news from the Rebbe, so it definitely means that the chassid, is lacking in something. There's something missing in him. And therefore, he decided there and then that he's going to start fasting. Tainis. The person fasts, that's part of the process of tshuva. And if there's something in him that needs to be rectified, so hopefully through his fasting, it's going to be repaired. He went back to his place of venue, wherever that was, and this fellow fasted 60 days. Obviously not on Shabbos, and the days he fasted by day, and he tasted and drank and tasted something in the evening, but he fasted 60 days. At the end of the 60 days of fast, I don't know anyone today that does these things, but he came back to 770. When he came back to 770, he put a note into the Rebbe through the secretariat of his whereabouts and his actions in the last two months, about the fasting, and about how he wanted to correct anything that was not proper by himself. And then within a very short time, that day, there was an answer for him from the Rebbe. The answer was, Ein min hagenu betanies desigufim. Our custom is not to fast and to torture our bodies. That's not the custom of Chassidim, not the custom of Chabad. And then the Rebbe wrote that he should immediately go to a Rav Chassidi, to a Chassidic rabbi, not any rabbi, a Chassidic rabbi. And he should have a Hatoras Nedorim, like we do once a year, Erev Rosh Hashanah. So he should immediately go, and he should have his neder, he should have his vow annulled, the vow that he was fasting. He should have it annulled by a Hasidic rabbi. He was by the Rebbe, and the secretary told him that the Rav, Rabbi Zalman Shimon Dvorkin, lives next door. He can go there. He immediately went to Rabbi Dvorkin. He told Rabbi Dvorkin the situation and the fact that the Rebbe sent him here to have his vow annulled. And Rabbi Dvorkin invited another two Jews in order to make a Beis Din together with himself, and the vow was annulled. No more fasting. Then Rabbi Dvorkin sat down with this chassid, and the chassid started, they started a conversation. Rabbi Dvorkin was interested, what was this all about? How did it come to what had happened? And he said that the story was that he was quite discouraged and disappointed with himself. He went and he did all this work. It was a novelty, a pocket-sized Tanya. And with all this, he never received any feedback whatsoever from the Rebbe. He didn't understand why, and that's what led to the entire process until he had to annul the vow. Rabbi Dvorkin sat and he listened, and he was dumbstruck. He said, now I understand why the Rebbe sent you to me. And then Rabbi Dvorkin started a story within a story. The story that Rabbi Dvorkin shared with this chassid was about a student, a university student, a Baal Tshuva to Chabad, who was studying. He was studying medicine, and in the course of his studies, he studied already for 4 years, and at the end of the 4 years, they were supposed to receive their diplomas. And then at the end of the 4 years, they were told that they have to do a nituche mesim. They have to go and they have to do surgery, operate on a dead body. What's it called in English? Whatever. It has an official word for it, whatever. But this student was with tears in his eyes. Why? Because this student was a Kohen. And he knew that it's not right. He can't. He's not allowed to touch a dead body. He's a Kohen. He's not allowed to defile himself. The Torah commands him. So he didn't know what to do. He came to Crown Heights, and he went to Rabbi Dvorkin. After all, he needs a rabbinical opinion in order to find out if there's any loophole or anything that can be done in the regard. Rabbi Dvorkin listened, and he was very, very attentive to all the story of this student. But at the end of the entire story, he told the student that he is a Kohen, and he doesn't see any way that he will be able to go and to find an eitzah, advice for him to be able to go and to defile himself to a person that is dead, to go and to do this last test. Nevertheless, Rabbi Dvorkin said to him the following. He said, and he saw how hurt the student was, and he saw how much the student wanted to do the right thing. He told the student, listen, what I can offer you is a piece of advice, and maybe this will alleviate your situation. He said, oh, we're talking about Kohanim, and our Kohen joins the class. Rabbi Dvorkin said to him, listen, why don't you, with everything that you've studied, pick up another profession in medicine and learn how to be a dentist? He says, dentist is almost like, it's similar to being a doctor. And then you won't have this problem. The student, he's quite disappointed, but at the same time, he was happy because there was some way out. There was somewhere to go. So he told the Rav Dvorkin, okay, that's what I'll do. Rav Dvorkin himself was surprised that he was like all together with the plan. And it wasn't easy. He went home and he told his parents. His parents were thunderstricken. They said, what? You learned for 4 years. You invested 4 years of your life. We invested a small fortune in your studies in order to put you through medical school. And at the end, you're allowing this small thing to stop you from getting your diploma? From being a GP, a general practitioner? What's the matter with you? Go do what you have to do, cut up whatever you have to cut up, and finish. Wash your hands with soap. Everything will be okay. He says, Mom, Dad, it doesn't work like that. We're Kohanim. We're not allowed to do this. And they get into argument, but at the end, the son found favor in the eyes of his parents, and his parents said, okay, they'll pay for another 2 years. He had to study another 2 years, and then he'll be able to get his diploma as a dentist. He went back to the same university, studied 2 years. He finished his 2 years very successful. And then at the end, his professor came to him and he said, listen, you were outstanding. Now all that's left in order for you to receive your diploma is the last exam. He said, last exam? What last exam? We're finished. He said, no, the laws changed in the United States. And now in order to get a dentist diploma, you have to perform surgery on the jaw and the mouth of a dead body. He held his head and he started to go, oh, woe is me, woe is me. And he told his professor, it's impossible. I can't do this. He said, what's the matter? He said, I can't do this. And he didn't explain. And he walked away with tears in his eyes. Needless to say, he was a very connected chassid. He went back to Rabbi Dvorkin, and he spilled his entire heart, all his feelings. He told Rabbi Dvorkin. Rabbi Dvorkin listened, and this time Rabbi Dvorkin already had tears in his eyes, because Rabbi Dvorkin knew there's nothing under the sun that he can do for this student in order to allow him to go into to defile his priesthood, to go into to perform surgery on a dead body, no matter what part of the body it was. And then Rabbi Dvorkin, he dried his tears and he said, listen, the only thing that I have to say to you, I'm going to give you a blessing, and whatever happens, happens. But what I can advise you this time is you go to the deacon, the head of the university. Now, everyone knows universities, and we're talking about a deacon, that's like the right-hand man of Hashem. As far as the students are concerned, this is a person that they don't see, they don't hear from. Maybe at the graduation, he's sitting there, but that's it. The deacon? Yeah, that's who he is. Go to the deacon, Rabbi Dvorkin says, and go and explain to him that you belong to the chosen nation, to the Jewish nation. And this is the nation that Hashem, who created the world, chose as the Jewish nation. Amongst the Jewish nation, there is a group of people that Hashem designated as his public servants. These are the Kohanim. And these public servants have specific rules and regulations. One of the major rules and regulations of the Kohanim is that they're not allowed to defile their kedusha, their holiness, through coming in contact with a dead body. And therefore, tell him, you're asking that he allows you to pass on this last exam, and nevertheless give you your diploma. And Rabbi Dvorkin was quick to say, and if he says no, if he says okay, so that then we have it made. If he says otherwise, so then just turn around and go back to where you came from, and don't even look back. Fine. The student, as we said before, is an advert chassid and a very, very connected chassid. He did everything that Rabbi Dvorkin said. He went, he spoke, he managed to get a meeting with the deacon. He went into the deacon, and shaking and shuddering, and he got his courage together to tell the deacon everything that Rabbi Dvorkin told him. The deacon listened very attentively, and he showed that he was really feeling for the student. But at the end of the student's drasha, At the end of the student's words, the deacon said, listen, I feel for you very much, but my hands are tied. There's nothing that I can do for you so that you receive your diploma if you don't do this last exam, the surgery on the dead body. The student had tears in his eyes, but he said, thank you very much. He was a very, very disciplined chassid. He said, thank you very much to the deacon for listening to me. He turned around and he started to walk towards the door. As he came to the door and started to open up turn the doorknob, the deacon shouted out, wait. He heard wait, so he turned around, and the deacon motioned him to come back. He came back. The deacon told him, listen, this is an unbelievable exception to the rule. But after listening to you and thinking for a few moments, I'm going to give you your diploma without the surgery. And not only that, says the deacon to this student, but I'm going to give you your diploma for dentistry and also for medicine, for being a general practitioner, because that's what stopped you from receiving your diploma. So he got both diplomas for the Mesiras Nefesh that he had for his Yiddishkeit. It was incredible. Okay? That was the end of that story to a certain degree. Rav Dvorkin continues and says, this same student, after a certain amount of time, he became a chosin. Excuse me, he's getting married. And he felt that it would be the greatest of honor if I would come to be his Mesader Kiddushin, to go and to perform the wedding under the chuppah for him. And he invited me, and he gave transportation. He brought me to the chuppah early, and so that everything will be in order. And as we're finishing up all the paperwork, we're coming to the chuppah. All of a sudden, there was a phone call, and on the phone is the Rebbe's secretary. The Rebbe's secretary calling. What's going on? The Rebbe's secretary says that the Rebbe asked if they would hold the chuppah for a little while, because the Rebbe wants to send a present to the chosin and to the kala. Send a present to the chosin and the kala. Hold up the chuppah. You know, all the guests are there. Everyone's waiting. But, you know, such a request comes from the Rebbe. You don't say no. Not only that, the secretary says, but the Rebbe asked me to inform you that you should know that the shliach, the messenger with the present coming from the Rebbe, is already on his way. In other words, it's not something that you don't know or you do know. It's a sure thing, and he's going to be arriving in a very short period of time. Great. The entire congregation is notified. They're waiting, and finally the messenger arrives. The messenger comes. He comes in front of the chosin. Rav Dvorkin is there, and he gives a package to the chosin. The chosin immediately opens it up, and what do you think the Rebbe sent them as their wedding present? The Rebbe sent them the pocket-sized Tanya that you printed. I didn't know at the time who printed it. I didn't know that there's such a thing that exists, a pocket-sized Tanya. And then the shliach said that the Rebbe told him to say to the chosin that he should know that this Tanya, since it was printed, it never left the Rebbe's office, and it has been sitting literally next to the Rebbe in a designated drawer. So Rav Dvorkin turned around to this chassid, and he looks him in the eye, and he says, and you were worried about the feedback that you didn't get from the Rebbe in regard to your pocket-sized Tanya that you printed? We don't know the things that are going on. We don't feel, we rarely understand what our thoughts, our speech, our action has an impact and an influence on ourselves, on our environment, on the entire creation. The Rambam brings as a halacha, the Rambam brings in his book of law, in Hilchos Tshuva, which is very apropos for our times right now, that we're in the midst of the service of Slichas before Rosh Hashanah, that with one good action, that with one good utterance of speech, with one good thought, a person can go and tilt the scales and bring himself, ourselves, and the entire world, the entire creation, Hatzola, Yeshua v'Hatzola, salvation, and bring about Moshiach immediately now. So this is something that we should bear in mind in the most challenging at the most challenging times that we might be in, even though that we've been working so hard and we've been investing so much time and strength and money, and we haven't seen any fruits yet. Haven't seen anything come out from all the projects that we've been doing. We should be sure that it's having an effect, that it's changing the world, it's changing the creation, and this one good act of goodness and kindness could be the act to tilt the scales and bring the revelation of the Rebbe Shlita Melech Ha'Moshiach, and it should be teichef u'miyad mamish, mamish, mamish. And we wish to bless everyone with the blessing of Ksiva, V'chasima Teva, Lishona Teva Mesuka, that we should all be written and inscribed for a good and sweet year, and it should be teichef u'miyad mamish, 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 with the revelation of the Rebbe Shlita Melech Ha'Moshiach. Shana Teva u'Mesuka. Amen. Yechi Adonenu Moreinu v'Rabbeinu HaMelech HaMoshiach Li'olam V'ed.